everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sleep Paralysis News. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today because we've been doing some work behind the scenes in terms of, expanding the conversations and the discussions that we have on the show. And today we've got somebody with us who is an experiencer, but also works at the heart of this work. And it's my pleasure to introduce Vanessa to the show. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay. I don't know if you want to say hi, Cyrus. A little howdy.
Oh, thank you. I'm a sleep paralysis experiencer, and I'm creating a film about it. So me and Sheila have been working for a very long time to do our research about this subject matter.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce you to Vanessa. So Vanessa Lamorte Hartsham, she's a mother, a wife, a mentor, a musician, and a poet. She studied at Sophia University, where she received a master's degree in transpersonal psychology with a specialism in creativity and innovation. She's a Reiki master teacher, sound and flower essence alchemist, serving for 13 years through multiple modalities and disciplines like yoga, astrology, energy medicine, sound healing, and psychology. She's a student of the ancestral ways and the intertribal tradition guided by Maestro Manuel Rufino. Vanessa is also the host of Memento Futurum, or Remember the Future podcast, featured on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and describes herself as a liminal space guide, leading retreats, workshops, courses, and dream work groups to study and alchemize their dreams for liberated lucid living. Welcome again, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited for this conversation today and all of the intersections I think that we're going to get into with everything that you guys are bringing to the world.
Thank you, thank you. Great. So I'd like to get straight in there really and ask you, what's your perspective on dreams and the space that we all enter when we sleep? What's your overarching view on that space?
hmm Well, I think that it's all real. I think it's all real. I think a lot of people come from the perspective that, oh, it was just a dream. Dreams are not that important, but um, we sleep for a third of our lives. And just thinking about that and thinking about like the divine architecture and the human design, um, why would we be sleeping for that long? And why would that space be unusable or not, not important? So I think that it's really important in a lot of different ancient cultures or ancient traditions. They say that, the true reality or what's first created is created in a dream before it's created here in this plane. And so, for many millennia, people have recognized dreams as important. So, I really do carry that belief as far as my own perspective and my own approach to this work and to this world. And I think that when we start paying attention, it gets really, really, really rich. So.
Okay, so during this state that we all go to, every night, or we have naps during the day and so forth, would you say that it's a space, a portal, an avenue for communication and for contact?
I definitely think so. I mean, so I mean, maybe you're asking the question as far as like what is actually happening, like on a more structural, like answer, I do think that we're going to a more universal field when we're sleeping. I think it's a place that we can all tap into together and to communicate with each other and to communicate beyond maybe what mainstream people think is possible. Um, so yeah, I mean, I do think that it's a place. Maybe you could call it a portal. Maybe you could call it a dimension. Maybe you could call it, planes. Those are all words I think that are commonly used in this work. Um, but yeah, I think I'm hesitant to say it's a place we go. And I'm hesitant to say that because I often wonder, through my own experience and witnessing others, if it's really just accessing a part of ourselves that we don't going into another state. Like, I feel like it's inherently us. We could say it's a place we go, but that sometimes kind of externalizes it like it's not us. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah,
Okay, so let's talk about that a bit more. What
sure.
what what are the things that happen in this space?
In my experience, like what happens in the dream
Yeah,
world.
most definitely in your experience.
I mean, I think so. My dreams they range, and from what I've, studied with people, dreams could be, your everyday uh regurgitation. So I think I've had dreams that are like, oh, I went to the grocery store, so now I'm in the grocery store. Um, that don't have maybe a lucid quality. I don't know that I'm dreaming. There are many dreams where they're very lucid. I know that I'm dreaming. I know that I'm aware that I'm not in waking life. So when it comes to lucid dreams, there is a sense of being somewhere else or being inside another state or inside something other than what we know as waking. Um, and so there's just like the lucid dreaming as far as knowing, and there's lucid dreaming as far as knowing and action. So, oh, I'm lucid. I know that I'm dreaming. I know I can also willfully change the dream, or I can explore, I can go different places, I can talk to different people, like that whole different those different kinds of experiences. Um, I can travel in a way, so I can travel through different I guess we call them portals. There's really no better word. But we could travel through different places inside of ourselves. When I say it's like hard to say that it's like you're going somewhere. Like I'm hesitant to say that because I'm like, could we find that place? Like if we were to like, is it measurable in that way, or is it place as just far as knowing that it's different than what we are here? Does that make sense? So like I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I can go to New York City. And there's like that kind of relationship. I don't know if it's the same way with dreams. Like if I could go to the dream world in that same way. I don't think it's the same, but I think it might be similar.
Yeah, I understand because it's not really distance when it's a spiritual realm involved. So you're
Hmm.
automatically there when you're in that realm. So it's not like you have to go there. So I understand what you're saying. And I want to ask you, how important is the pineal gland? It's something I feel like the common man really doesn't know about or talk about. I just went to my library. I've been studying this for years, but I went to my library and there's really nothing on the pineal gland in the library.
Yeah.
So why is this such the subject that I don't know if the Egyptians used to talk about it with the third eye on their hieroglyphics and things like that, but it's
Yeah.
2025. How come the importance of the pineal gland isn't very popular? And what more can you tell us about it?
Yeah. Gosh, the pineal gland. I mean, it is really important and it's responsible for intuition. It's responsible for telepathy and those states. And uh I would say activities. Like it's responsible for those things. Um I've often wondered myself, like, why don't we have more research about it? Why don't we talk about it more? Um, there's probably a lot of different reasons for that. There's probably a lot of different uh you could call them conspiratorial, but why would we want to conceal that kind of information? Because it's power. It's self power. Because if we're aware of what the pineal gland is and we're aware of what it does and how to use it, then as individuals, we are empowered people. So in my understanding, the pineal gland um, helps us to use our intuition to see beyond, maybe using the five senses to like really reach into higher states of consciousness, um, for lucid dreaming or astral projection. Um, and there's a lot of information there about like, oh, calcification. If your pineal gland is calcified, what does that mean? Through things like maybe fluoride or processed foods and just a lot of different vices, things like that. So when I started, I'm like trying to like think back because there's so many different pieces with this, but like when I started really going into learning about the pineal gland, I was at a time of my life. So this is probably um, almost 20 years ago at this point. Um, really understanding like, how do I feel in my body when I put certain things in my body, like processed food or not processed food, like whole foods versus processed food. That's just like one thing. Or purified water versus like maybe hard water or tap water, like really understanding the qualities of water, like and how we can elevate things and source things in a better way. Changing my toothpaste, truly from fluoridated toothpaste to fluoride free had an effect on how I perceived the world. And I do feel like it really opened me up. And I do think there's a lot of information out there now about things like this. I don't necessarily think that that's like not the forefront thing that I always think about with this. Um, but the ancient Egyptians talked about it too, you know. So yeah, pineal gland is important. I think that it's more so living in a holistic way or living in a way that's more true to who we are, that honors the capabilities I think that humans actually have. Because we could see them as superhuman or like we could like the idea of telepathy almost sounds like a superpower. And I think that it is super special, but I think we all have telepathy. We all have intuition. We all can dream. We all can astral project. So it becomes more about re-engage for me, the conversation about pineal gland or even this conversation about dreams becomes more about re-engaging the original human instead of seeing it as like special, if that makes sense. Um, did I answer your question about pineal gland? I'm sorry, like I went on a tangent.
Oh, yes, it does.
There's a lot there, you know, and I'm not an expert scientist, perhaps on a more neurological, you know, that's not my language, but so I can't explain it from that perspective. Maybe Sheila can actually, but you know, you might have more to say.
I don't actually know a huge amount about the pineal gland. I know there's a lot of folklore related to it, a lot of um, spiritual kind of discussions around the pineal gland and its capabilities and what it can do and what it connects to as well in terms of energies and the kind of beyond kind of physical world that we can experience. But I would like to just shift over a little bit from the pineal gland into sleep paralysis.
Mhm.
Tell us, Vanessa, what do you think is really going on there? And you're welcome to share any experiences that you've had.
Yeah. Um, so in my experience, when I've had sleep paralysis, it's usually related to some lucid dream. So I'm already like aware that I've been dreaming, but then I can't move my body. Um, I do think that there's a safety component to shutting off the body and you know, the instead of my gosh, what do they call it? Sleepwalking. Instead of like sleepwalking and maybe perhaps putting myself in a harmful state because I would be acting out where I am in the dream state. I do think there's a safety component to that. Um, but a lot of times I've noticed that with my own experience, like there have been moments where it's been really scary. Um, I think a lot of people talk about, you know, the more scary experiences with how, you know, feeling the suppression, not being able to move your body, knowing that you're awake inside your body. Um, there's been so many experiences. I mean, sometimes it's working with beings, sometimes it's, you know, seeing multidimensional beings. Um, but I think the bulk of my experiences with that have just been more so like stressful lucid dream and like then being stuck. And I think that what the most empowering thing that I learned with that um was through my study of lucid dreaming. Like when I would become lucid, but not really understand how I could willfully act. So like once I started to understand, hey, like researching more and really practicing lucid dreaming, I was like, I can get myself out of this. Like I can wake myself up. I can, if there's a scary being or there's something scary that's going on, like I can work with this. There's like the old trick around like wiggling your toes. That actually really helps me to wake up if I'm having a sleep paralysis moment. Um, but just remembering like, wait, I'm connected to my body. I am in control in this way and I can get out. Um, sometimes that works for people, sometimes it doesn't, but you know, yeah.
So, more generally then, is it an hallucination that's going on?
I don't know if I'd call it a hallucination. Almost like that word makes me feel like it's not real. I feel like it's real in a sense. Like it's real. Like I like how I would say lucid dreaming is real, just in perhaps a different plane. Um, when I hear hallucination, I almost think it's like a disregarding that word. I don't know if that's actually what you mean with it, but like if people are using that term, like, oh, it's just something that's can't be worked with, can't be like you're just seeing something or you're just like experiencing something. I think that it might help to say that sleep paralysis is like like my language around this feels cumbersome because I'm like really trying to feel into like how translating how it feels and how I understand it. But yeah, I would say it really has from my perspective, it has to do with the translation of planes, really. Like we know this as waking life. And I think the attachment to this being the only reality is what makes even talking about like I have programming around that. Like this is the reality that matters, maybe so to speak, but like that it's all real in a different way. And that the translation between planes, I think, could be part of what sleep paralysis is. Um, I almost defining sleep paralysis to you guys who are researching it, I feel like silly, but that's what I'm seeing from my perspective.
I just want to go back a bit because you said that you've had several experiences and they can be very scary. In
Mhm.
the scary ones, what is it that makes it scary for you? What is that experience? What's happening? Why it's scary for you in your experiences?
Yeah, I think a few key things. So scary is like I can't move my body. Why can't I move my body? Like this, the body part I think was scary. Um, I think fear that I couldn't get back in my body. Like, oh, I feel like I'm somewhere else. I've had the experience of like dreaming and then like flying, like consciously like coming from somewhere else, almost like I'm descending through the sky back into my house and then watching myself from I'm in my bed, clearly I'm sleeping. There she is, she can't move. I know I'm having the sleep paralysis, but I'm just like over my own body. So some of the fear in those experiences have been like, oh, I can't get back in. Am I ever gonna get back in my body? Um, it's like, of course I can. That's my body. Like I've had to like really almost coach myself, like and be able to talk myself through that and be like, I can get back in there. And then as soon as I do that, I'm able to. There have also been scary experiences with other beings. You know, I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Like, oh, there's this freaky looking creature, or this we could say they're galactic or multidimensional, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's not just one thing. Um, there have been experiences like that, you know, where either it starts in the dream plane and there's something playing out a scenario, and then I've noticed I'm having a sleep paralysis where it feels like more located in my bedroom you know, like, oh, I'm seeing a being in my bedroom, but I'm also having the sleep paralysis. So I think that it's been a variety of things around the scary part, the fear part, which for me, that's a lot. That was a long journey. I don't experience this as much anymore. I feel like because I've really worked through a lot of things, but from like age, I'm honestly earliest I can remember is probably 6 to 21, 22. That was a long time of sleep anxiety, a lot of experiencing in multiple ways, a lot of sleep paralysis fear. So yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of experience just in my own self with this.
So, the different beings that you've seen, are you
Mhm.
able to describe maybe one or two of them? What did they look like?
Well, the common one, like a old person, old hag, sometimes wearing like dark clothing, like on your chest. I've seen that. I've seen a cat like on top of me, but not my own cat. Um, just I know those are common ones. And then I've also seen like so I have like I've had cats growing up, but it was never my own cats. I have to define that. Um, and then I've also seen, oh my gosh, like I'm trying to recall. There's been so many different weird creature things that I've seen in different ways. Like one that sticks out was like a maybe more like aquatic kind of creature looking type creature. Aquatic in the way of like uh bipedal, so like having, you know, two legs maybe and two arms, but like having some kind of fish-like face, gray, not full gray, like a brown gray skin, looking like they have some kind of gills. Not quite like not a lizard, but like more amphibious, I would say. So yeah.
So
And what do
why?
they do?
Okay.
Sorry, go on, Cyrus. Yes.
Okay. So I'll ask you, why do you think this sleep process happens to, and I've heard multiple numbers, so let's just go with 20% of the population. Sleep process happens to 20% of the population. What is so special about this 20%? Um,
Hmm.
we hear that it's, you know, you can attach it to sleep hygiene. I'm taking naps. I'm not on a regular schedule. But if that was the case, I believe that 80% plus would be having sleep paralysis. And I've only had sleep paralysis myself less than 10 times my whole life. And my
Oh
sleep
wow.
hygiene has not been the best for a
Hmm.
course of over 20 years, you know? So then how come I didn't have more sleep paralysis experiences if it's about sleep hygiene? So back to the question of what is so special about this 20% that we get
Hmm.
to have sleep paralysis and try to explain to everyone else and they're looking at us like we're crazy.
Hmm. Hmm. What comes to mind is sensitivity. I don't know that it's about sleep hygiene. I think you could have really impeccable sleep hygiene and still be experiencing things like that. Like because when we go into sleep hygiene, I almost feel like that people can almost approach it like from a puritanical perspective. I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. It's not clean enough. You know, like this thing that I think it just stresses people out. I don't know that it's that. I think that the population of people who are experiencing sleep paralysis are sensitive in the way of having some kind of sensitivity in the way of like intuition or um, feeling between dimensions or being able to feel other kinds of non-sentient beings or non-embodied beings. Like really, for me, that seems to be the tie. Um, not just like not to say that if you're experiencing sleep paralysis, you're automatically maybe seeing galactic beings or fairies or elementals or all the different ghosts, all the different kinds of beings that could potentially be happening. But I just feel like it could be related to psychic sensitivity, and or maybe permeability, in the aura. People have different kinds of auric structures. Um, I think that information is actually pretty present in human design when we're talking about like, which is based off of astrology, but you know, talking about manifestors and generators and projectors and reflectors, like that's a whole almost way separate conversation. But when you look at that information, it really is describing how the auric field is operating. Um, and just to bring this here, I have no idea if this relates I have no idea, but I'm just saying it because it's coming to mind at this moment, which is like, so in human design, I'm a projector, which makes up 20% of the population. So I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. That's an interesting figure, that relates. But I know with projectors, we have like a more permeable aura, and an aura that reads the field, reads the room. Um, and not everyone has an aura that works that way. And so that's something that comes to mind. Like I don't know the exact answer, but I'm curious if it has to do with the way the aura functions. I do think it has something to do with sensitivity, um, or openness, how open someone's consciousness is to um things. I wonder, I don't know, maybe you guys know the answer to this, but people, personality wise, people who are experiencing sleep paralysis, are they often skeptics, like people who would be skeptical of this work, or are they people who are more open? Like, I don't actually know. I can't think right now off of like the top of my head, but maybe you guys might know.
Yeah, I would say, in my experience, there's quite a wide range of backgrounds in terms of where people are coming from, in terms of how they interpret sleep paralysis. So
Mm-hmm.
there are people that interpret it quite metaphysically in terms of
Sure.
um, different dimensions and that kind of scientific perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who interpret it neurologically, and there's a problem somewhere in the
Right.
body.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess there's the spiritual perspective, which
Mm-hmm.
is it's energy, it's something evil. And there is also the what would I call it? The non-human intelligence perspective, which is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm really quite interested in that also, because it's kind of saying that we're connecting with something is engaging with us. And I
Mm-hmm.
do get the sense that when you speak, Vanessa, you feel as though something is there and it's trying to connect with you in terms of maybe telepathically send a message to you, but there's something going on in that space. Am I wrong or about that, or what do you
No,
think?
I think that's accurate for sure. I think that um yeah, I think in my experience it has been that way.
Yeah, and
Uh,
what do you think? What do you think that is going on? What do you think they're trying to say, or what have they said to you? Because it may well be that you've received those messages and contact.
often if I can get past the fear of what's happening, maybe I'm having a visitation. That was, at the beginning, that was mostly the experience. And then after a while, almost like being, because I'm literally, you threw out a figure, Cyrus, I think you said 10 times you've experienced this in your life. Is that what you said?
Yeah, less than 10 times, so around 10. Yeah.
That's incredible. In the way that it's interested you to do this work. I would say mine like exceeds way beyond like 50. Like I'm like, this has happened so many times for me. And like I've almost like it's become normalized in my life. Like it doesn't, I'm like, maybe it'll happen now that I'm talking about it, but like, or focusing on it, but like it hasn't happened in a little while, but it used to happen so often. Um, and anyway, just like really, it's fascinating the different experiences and people. Anyway, that's all I was commenting on. But for me with the beings, if I could get past the fear, and once I got past the fear, it was, yeah, there's messages. And it's usually not scary. It's usually not evil. It's more like my initial perception was like, this is terrible. Oh my God, I want to get back to my body. I want to wake up. I want to wake up. But if I could relax and just I'm safe, and remind myself like I'm safe, I'm here. Maybe I'm being presented with something that is not usual. Um, but I can accept that in myself that I am safe, then almost it opened the communication. And the messages were, oh my gosh, usually for my life, usually amazing guidance for my life. It's been for the collective, prophetic things that are going to happen that did come true, So, um, and it's interesting because I would say the peak of my being experience, so it's happened all my life, but the peak of those experiences were really like 10 years ago. And I don't have an answer for why that time. Maybe the collective. I have no idea why that time. But there's almost like pockets of time I think that I could look back and be like, oh yeah, during this time there was a pocket and I was experiencing more of this, more or less of this. Um, and that's not something that's at the forefront right now for me, but nonetheless, there's a lot there. Um, I don't know. I'm like almost curious, is that when we talk about people who are experiencing sleep paralysis, is there a common thread, or as far as numbers, like with frequency, like are people doing this all the time, like every night? Like I don't actually know that figure.
Well, from my research and the people I've been talking to for years, including myself, there is a range of 8 years old to about 25. This is where it's most common. So now I'm trying to
Wow.
make sense of that,
Yeah,
which is goes back to the pineal gland. Maybe
right.
maybe when we're 45 plus years old, our pineal gland is calcified, and that has to do a lot with our spiritual experiences and our
Mm-hmm.
connection to the spirit world. So,
Mm-hmm.
when we're young, we are full of love and creativity. And as you get older, you lose your creativity, you conform. And it's like the same with the mind. Go back to what you guys both were saying, maybe the older you get, the harder it is to believe something like that. But when you're a kid, you would believe something like that. So, there's
Right.
that range, that time frame, that age range that we are more susceptible for many various factors and variables. So, yeah, it's hard to say, this is correlated to this exactly. You get into
Mm-hmm.
causation and correlation. So I do think that there is a time frame where it's prime. I actually did talk to someone not too long ago who was um, past 45 still experiencing sleep paralysis. I was like, whoa, you're an
Mm-hmm.
outlier. So it's
Right.
for everybody of all races. Is so mysterious, and that's why we're having this
Hmm.
discussion.
I love that you brought that in, like the age range. It reminds me that I mean, as far as puberty goes, the pineal, there's a considerable amount of research on this, but that the pineal gland and the pituitary gland have such a relationship with development and puberty and growing up. Um, which is something that so for me, I was 15 years old, right? Like right there in that window. I was 15 years old, and the first moment that I had, that I was like, there is something groundbreaking about dream work. Like it shook me because I I had a boyfriend at the time, and we had the same dream. Got on the phone, I was like, "Oh my God, I had this crazy dream about you." And he's like, "I had a crazy dream about you." And we were like, okay, where were you? One, two, three, go. And then it was like the same place. Okay, what happened? One, two, three, go. And then the same thing. And it was like, this is what? You know, how? And that's like one of my peak experiences as far as like what really changed my perspective on dreams. I'd always loved dreams prior to, but I was, a teen and a kid. And at the time I was very like as a teen, I was very artistic and like creative, but I don't know, I was still a kid, so I wasn't really I wasn't thinking from like a sciencey academic brain at all. Um, and just then that was the moment where I was like, I have to pay attention to this. And, you know, just kept happening. It's what we call co-dreaming, being able to dream with people, meet up with people on the astrals. That is a thing. And it's something that is practiced. And it's something that I've taught, in different at different times, being able to do that. Um, everyone can. I just think it gets exercised. But why I'm bringing this up is because that experience at 15, I was starting to see just hearing it, just like talking to people and they're like, oh, when I was a teen, usually between like 13 and 17, somewhere in there, they're like, oh, I started having more exceptional experiences. It was usually around sleep, potentially sleep paralysis. I'm trying to think like specific people. Um, but like lucid dreaming, maybe seeing beings or seeing beyond, like, but more exceptional things, what we call exceptional, were happening then. And so I was like, and in my own personal theory, I was like, this really thing has to do with the pineal gland and how things open related to puberty and that communication system. Um, and that's where I think my approach really has an intersection between science and spirituality. Um, because I'm definitely not trying to explain it away through science. I'm not saying, oh, it's just because of that. Like, oh, it's just nothing. It's just like a byproduct hallucination of. I'm like, no, 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 no. I think that these are enriching developmental experiences that so many people go through. And they are widespread across cultures, across demographics. Like, why would humans have these experiences? I think that they are ultimately for our growth in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah. It's exciting to me. I don't know. I get really excited thinking about it, like where your guys' conversation is going and where you're taking it. Because I think it's important.
I think that's really, really good, because I think through the what we're now saying is that sleep paralysis isn't always as scary and terrifying and very negative. It can
Hmm.
be transformative and very, very positive and expanding. I mean, you're saying that you've had precognitive dreams that would come true, and you
Hmm.
can meet people on the astral plane when you sleep and have that
Hmm.
experience verified, you know. So
Hmm.
I think what we're moving into is a really wondrous conversation, and times where we can have these conversations openly about
Yeah.
the experiences that people are really having, you know.
Hmm.
I'd like to really wrap up now. We're kind of running out of time, and just ask you, if people want to get in touch with you, Vanessa, what's the best way?
There is my website, which is www.vanessalamorte.com. We could do Instagram, which is at Vanessa Lamorte. I'm so sad we're running out of time. Gosh, this was I'm like, I wanted to hear more about what you guys have to say, but I have to, have to listen to the more of the podcast. Yeah, those are the best ways to get in touch for sure.
Wonderful.
We'll
Thank
have
you so
you back.
much.
We'll do a cycle, and after you get more
Yeah, we can.
information, everyone go learn. We'll come back to this and finish
It's
this
it's it's a
conversation.
deep topic. It's a deep topic. There's so much to say. And I think what you just said, Sheila, like, getting beyond the scary, that's what I was really, in my long-winded bit before. It's like once you can understand that there might be something here and get beyond the scary, I think it does get really expansive and rich and exciting and um a whole new world. And I think, like, bottom line for me, coming from my perspective, I think it's empowering. It's definitely very, very empowering. And dream work it was the first divination system, so it's like there's so much there, and it's what we have access to inside ourselves. We don't have to go outside. um and so, yeah, anyway, that's my last bit, because I'm just smiling cheek to cheek, because, or ear to ear, because it's like, yeah, more people I think will really benefit from what you guys are doing, for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Vanessa. And words can't express. I'm really, really appreciative of you coming on the show and sharing your experiences and speaking openly about a subject that is sometimes often taboo. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right then. Bye-bye.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you both so much.
Bye.
Thank you guys.